We have so many stories in our lives, but our stories are not always heard. On the Hear My True Story podcast, we tell our own true stories.
Before the white car parked, our head teacher had scattered. Looking at him, I could only see his tie that was flying backwards, waving at us, and he disappeared in thin air.
I want to share my life story. I want to share my voice with the people because I know that just a small joke I can tell through this podcast, it will make someone smile.
When you ask me what I fear most in life, I would definitely respond to you and say it's fear itself.
We are fighting for togetherness. We are fighting for equal rights. We are fighting to end injustice.
You don't have to be a storyteller or writer because, guess what? Life writes the best stories.
Hear my true story.
This is your favorite time of the week with your number one podcast.
Hear my true story. Welcome to a brand new episode. Hear my true story.
Yo, dear listener, thank you so much for joining us on the Hear My True Story podcast. It is me, your host, Otako and CJ.
Your co-host, CJ.
Yeah, CJ, thank you so much for always being here with us on this wonderful podcast. So now, CJ, let me ask you, what are you like? You said last time that you are training in you're doing an apprenticeship. That's like a training. It's a training, yeah. To become a pre-educator.
Yeah, but kindergarten teacher, pre-educator in kindergarten.
Yeah, pre-educator in kindergarten, but you can work anywhere where there are children.
I can work anywhere. Yeah, that's true. I can work anywhere where there are children. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, where did your training? Which program is that?
I am doing my Ausbildung or my training with Waldorf School in Stuttgart, and so it is a special program. This Waldorf, it is really I really don't know how to explain it so well in English, but it is a special program where children are at the center of the pedagogy, pedagogy of the education, where the children, where their abilities to learn, abilities to live are put in the point of concentration, where, for example, where children who do not come in kindergarten to learn, to study, rather they come to play, they come to explore themselves, they come to learn about themselves, they learn how to be independent, they learn how to be a person. Yeah, so this is the main point of this program that I'm doing, or this section where I centered to study or to learn. Yeah. And what do you do? Because you also learn to be
I'm also doing a training, just like you, to become a pre-educator in kindergarten. I can also work in one group. I can work in most of the social work fields. I can work there as a pre-educator. I mean, like in English, you can say pre-educator, but in German, that's Erzieher, or you become a Erzieherin. Yeah. Anyway, for our dear listeners, we just want to say we are both trainees in school. Yeah, so today we thought of maybe to share some of the interesting and experiences of what we do. Yeah, so CJ. Yeah.
So, should I push the button?
Yeah, I can't push the button.
Your favorite podcast is here.
Hear my true story.
Yeah, I've done that, please. It is the favorite
Thank you.
podcast. You agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the best podcast.
Mm.
Yeah. And by the way,
Mm.
if any of our listeners wants to join us, you are very welcome. Just write in the comment section, say, I want to take part, I want to talk, I want to share my experience. You are very, very welcome. Here on our podcast, we lay a platform for you where you can also put your voice out there. Yeah.
Yeah, we welcome guests most times when we have a special podcast. We have guests on, and yeah, when you are our favorite listener, you can send us an email on Hear My True Story, here at hearmytruestory.com. Yeah, the email. Anyway, I'll put there the email in this podcast, and you can send us an email, and you can ask us questions where you agree, where you disagree. You can do the same. Yeah. So, CJ,
So, when I was in Uganda, I also worked with children, by the way. And I really enjoyed my work. I'm still enjoying my work, but I'm talking about the work in Uganda. I really, really enjoyed my work so much in Uganda, where you could talk to the children and the children easily understood you. And, full of fun. Laugh, jokes, and everything. Like, okay, the system in Uganda is different from the system here in Germany. That is really, it's very different.
Yeah, that's true.
But also the children in both countries are happy, but happy in a different way. For me, in my point of view, children are happy in a different point or in a different way. For example, in Uganda, children enjoy going to kindergarten. I don't think children enjoy going to kindergarten in Uganda. This is me being honest a bit. Okay, for me, from what I experienced.
Let me ask you a question. Did you go to kindergarten as a child in Uganda, and how was it for you?
Of course, everyone goes to kindergarten in Uganda. If you don't go to kindergarten in Uganda, you will not go to P1 or the first ASA classes. You don't go to it. Because in kindergarten, I had to study, I had to write my name, I had to learn how to count, I had to learn specific kinds of songs, I had to do PE. You remember PE? PE is where you undress yourself and do something like sports, run. Yeah. But when you undress, like when you're just putting on your underpants. Yeah. But okay, it was also fun, but I don't remember so much from my kindergarten. I only remember that my mom used to bring me to the kindergarten, and she would run, that I would not see her when she's going. So she could not say bye, really the nice bye that, oh, bye my child, I'm coming to pick you back again. So such things. Yeah. And I also saw that from my nieces and nephews that it is really difficult. Like here, can I already say about here?
I mean, I just asked a question, but of course, if you want to talk about the other side of here, how is it here? Because you're working in a kindergarten and you have had a life experience in Uganda as a child who has been in kindergarten, and then also you've so grown up, you have worked with children in Uganda, and now you are here training to be an ASA. Oh, I mean, well, what is that kind of like?
I just want to say a small here. Here, the children can say, I don't want to go to kindergarten, and the children don't come to kindergarten. But in Uganda, you say, I don't want to go to school. You go to school with an escort behind the next morning. It's only maybe when you're sick, then you don't go to school. When I was talking about what I said before, I was remembering my niece. One time she said she doesn't want to go to school. She was to kindergarten because she had a language problem. She was staying with her father, with the side of her father, and the side of her father, they were not speaking English or Luganda. They were speaking another language, Luchiga. And So this is another language in Uganda. And so when she came to us, she did not know how to speak English or Uganda. So she had problems in the school or in the kindergarten. So where she was not feeling happy to go, she was not motivated to go at any point. Yeah. So, but if she said no, she doesn't want to go, they had to take her by force. We had to take her by force because she had to, at some point, she had to get used to it. Yeah. Yeah. But I appreciate, that children in Uganda, this is what they know and this is what they're learning. But for me, I would wish that maybe our system can loosen up a bit. Yeah. It can loosen up because I feel like it's too much for the kids. 3-year-old, you go to school, you have to learn how to write your name. You have to at least learn how to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have to learn how to write using a pencil and everything. Learn how to take care of your books and those things, But here, I'm working in the kindergarten, and the children don't have to do that. The children, they just come to kindergarten. Their work is to play, eat, and go to the toilet, or maybe sleep. This is their work. They don't have to learn. They don't have to. The way they learn is very indirect. They learn with singing songs. Yes, we do it in Uganda, but differently. They learn how to sing songs, but also they don't sing specific songs. They sing songs which go to the time of the year, and they are not supposed to learn. Okay, they learn how to count, but in a playful way, where they say, okay, we are sitting in a circle. Can someone count for us? Does someone know how to count? And the children will be, yeah, me. Then they start counting. And it's not forced, rather, it's just in a floating way, Yeah. What is your experience for you? Because I know.
Of course, for me, for example, for the kids here in German, the children, I see my experience that at least there is a lot of respect for the rights of children, which is very, really difficult to find in Uganda, that a child can speak, the room to speak. The children in Uganda, it's difficult to share your opinion as a child. For example, kids when they're in kindergarten, their views are not listened to. Here, my experience is that children are part of the learning experience. You as an adult in this institution, you also learn a lot from the children. Yeah, you learn a lot from the children because every child is special in their own way. Every child has something they bring on board. The same way every adult who's working in the kindergarten or in an institution with people have something they bring on board, yeah. But from my experience where I come from in Uganda, it was difficult. I can share my personal experience when when I was growing up in Uganda. There are many things that really happen. As a child, you are not supposed to speak when adults are speaking. Yeah. When adults are speaking, as a child, you are not expected to speak at all. Your work is to listen to the adults and do what they say. If you speak when an adult person is speaking, you are beaten up. And when you're beaten up, you start crying. They also beat you for crying. Why are you crying? And if they beat you, why are you crying? And then they beat you. And if they beat you and you don't cry, they will also beat you for not crying. Why are you not crying? Yeah. When you stand, you see, it is so funny. As I was a child, when you stand and an adult is sitting on a chair, and for you, when you sit on the chair and the adult person is standing, they will ask you, why are you sitting as a child and an adult person is standing? You see that? So this thing of elders have to sit and the children have to stand. You get that? And it was so funny. They beat you up for that. And also when you just walk around aimlessly and they ask you, why don't you sit down? They beat you up. Why don't you sit? Yeah, so everything was about beating, corporal punishment, and it was so funny. Yeah. And as a child, there are so many experiences that, because I remember when I was a kid, at home we didn't have like food, but our neighbor had food. So I went and ate lunch at our neighbor's house. And then when I came back and they asked me, okay, what did you do at our neighbor's home? I ate their food. They beat me up for eating food from our neighbor.
Who had food?
Who had food? But for me, we didn't have food at home. You get that? And also, that was like, when you ask them, okay, I am hungry, I need food. They beat you up. Why are you asking for food? You see, do you see food there? But then eating at the neighbor, you are beaten up. So such experiences, I say that for sure, it is really different. I mean, the system is really different, but also as children, we made it fun. As in my experience as a child in Uganda, I mean, here when people have to organize for children to experience nature, to go to the forest and walk with the children in the forest, look for animals, look for insects. For me in Uganda, early in the morning, I go to the forest, I move to the garden, I look for things in the yard, like in the soil. I hunt for insects. I collect insects. I collect birds. And I was enjoying nature at its best with no shirt, just walking around widely in the forest. And I could experience that. That's what I really enjoyed when I was a child in Uganda. Moving in the bushes, going to the forest and experience that. Climb a tree, pick a fruit from the tree, eat that fruit. Yeah. I didn't know that people buy food in the supermarket. No. But everything was from the garden. That's what I knew. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, that was a good experience. But I see it's really different from here. Our children are perceived are really different cultures, different education system. So it's really different. That's what I can say.
Yeah, sometimes I think that I had the best childhood in the whole world. That
Why?
I had the best childhood because of the things that I experienced. Yeah, it was hard to have food. Maybe for me at my place it wasn't hard to have food, but there are some other things because my mom had a garden. There are just some other difficult things that I went through as a kid. But
okay, what difficult
I turned
things?
out.
Make sure to leave a review. This makes our day and fuels future episodes. Hear my true story.
Yeah, I did not have the best father in the world. So that is one of the difficult things I passed through as a kid. Yeah, but I turned out to be a very amazing woman. Even if kindergarten was different from here, or kindergarten was different, or school was different, we still turned out to be social people, amazing people, and all that. I remember when I was a kid, we used to pour water. We had just a hilly slope like this, a hilly slope.
Yeah.
So we just pour water and soap there, and with our clothes, we make our own roche, our own slide. You know, we never thought, or we never said we wanted something like that. I'm just seeing it right now as a grown-up person and say, oh, maybe we needed that at home, or maybe the children at home needed that. But we never needed that because we just created our own things, you know, we just created our own fun. We made dolls out of stockings. We made dolls out of clothes. We made dolls out of natural things, banana peelings or banana covers. So all those stuff. So I really, really enjoyed my childhood, to be honest. But going back to the topic, kindergarten, is that what I said before is that our system, at least maybe it can loosen up and let the children have maybe a little bit of fun, knowing that they have to study, they have to learn before they can write their name, they can say the names of the whole family, or they have to write the names of the whole family. But at least let the child a bit to be a child, you know, not with the education stuff to be so much. Because look at our system, the education system. You learn to be something. You end up pushing a wheelbarrow in town. You end up looking for selling clothes, but you learn or study to be a lawyer, or you learn to be something, And another thing, we learn so many things, like just to do an exam. Here, I never thought that even the teachers tell you what is coming tomorrow in the paper or next week in the paper, so you can have time to read so that you don't fail, Sometimes I think that Ugandans are really clever. We should really be so clever, because you study to write the final exam, let's say for the high school, you have to study to learn what you studied in the 4 years. Yeah. To complete primary, you have to learn what you studied in the 7 years, and no one is going to tell you that this or that is coming. Yeah. Rather you just learn. You don't know what is coming. You just hope that, oh God, I hope that what I learned or what I studied is what comes in the exam. And people pass, and a very big number of children pass the exams. And in the kindergarten, they also write a final exam. You know that?
I didn't know that in Uganda.
It's not like made official, but rather it's just they write an exam for the end of the year or end of the term when you're in the last class in kindergarten. So if you fail that, then the teachers will advise your parents that maybe you repeat that class. Isn't that now like a final exam? Why is it that when you fail it, you can't go to the next class?
I mean, like you stay in kindergarten again.
You stay in kindergarten again. You remain in that kindergarten year again to make yourself better.
For me, I didn't go to kindergarten.
Really?
I'm an old man. I grew up in a very small village. We didn't have kindergarten. Our kindergarten was going to the garden where they put plants, play in the forest, eat mangoes, eat jackfruit, get maize, bring it home, cook maize, and then eat. I did not step in kindergarten because I was in a village.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
For us, we have to do that. I went to kindergarten, but we had to write not like a final exam, but it's more like also papers. You write your name. They do reading somehow, not too much. Rather, they tell you a story and then you have to say something. Yeah. So I really envy the children here that at least they enjoy their kindergarten, that they don't have to write, they don't have to learn, they don't have to stress themselves. Rather, they can be children, the parents or the teachers do not expect you to be a better child, to be in books, in mathematics or in writing. But the children in Uganda, they're expected to be good in writing at a small age, at a 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, But here it's very, I feel like it's really nice, because the children, they have very many Spielplatz. Let me say Spielplatz, for example.
Okay, yeah. When you talk about Spielplatz, when you talk about these are small parks for children to play, you mean that, yeah? I mean, so how is that in Uganda?
I only saw it once in a school, but I had never seen it before in my life, like those kinds of things where it is already made,
A space
the
for children to play.
have to make it themselves. Yeah, they don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that in Uganda we don't have like playgrounds for children. That's really, really. These playgrounds, I never realized how important they are, but we realized, like, for example, with the organization we work with in Uganda, children just come to play because there's some things for children, there's some toys for children. Here in Germany, you find that everywhere you walk, you find a playground for children, designed for children. In Uganda, in Kampala, you don't find a playground designed for children. And I find this really difficult. Maybe it's only in Uganda. Maybe it's different in Kenya. Maybe it's different in other parts of Africa. I don't know, but I want to speak for Uganda. I think playgrounds are not available. I mean, it's really hard for children to really discover their talent, what they feel like free. Yeah. Of course, as children, we used to make ourselves play spaces by playing on the street, maybe playing in the neighborhood, and then you are beaten up. Yeah.
But also maybe here that in every corner where you go, in fact, almost every street there is a playground. Maybe because the government is advertising that the people can produce more kids, to have.
I mean, the system may be designed well for children here. I mean, I speak on my perspective. Yeah. But I find it's real beautiful that there are play spaces, there are places for children to play, for children to enjoy, You go to some places like restaurants and there's some space for children to play. You go at some institutions to visit, maybe for beratung or for support on something. There's a space for children to play. Even in hospitals.
The children's rights, and they really put them to practice. They really show that they are on the point. They say, okay, that children have a right to play, a right to study, and they put it in practice. They create more kindergartens. If the land is in what is Recht? In law, something like that. But for Eatzia, my English is gone. Yeah. So in this Recht, it's more like
in this
they
law.
say that law, the study. So they say that if they realize that in the village there are so many children, but there are few kindergartens or there are no kindergartens, the city or the government of the city, let's say Stuttgart, they will advise the people to open up kindergartens so that the people, private people, they will open up kindergartens, let's say like Waldorf, they will open up kindergartens. But if there are still less, the city or the government will open up their own kindergartens and they will employ people to work in the kindergarten so that the children have places where to go. But then after, after 5 years and there are less children in these years, then the kindergartens have to close down because now for whom are they opening the kindergartens for? But the city will be the first one to close their kindergartens, and then they leave the private kindergartens so that they can still operate. But if they also have less children, then they can also close up. And also if the parents do not have enough money, because for the private kindergartens, usually the parents have to pay a certain amount of money for the children to go. And then what they do, the government or the city, they pay a certain amount of money for the child to go to kindergarten. Yeah. It is really interesting how the government or how the country at large takes care that everyone at least have something. Even for the people who don't have jobs, they get money for not working, At least they look that it is good for their people. Yeah.
I get that, yeah. I really see that. It's really important to put places for children to play. And that was my experience. I learned. I played in the forest, in the garden, but I find it here really wonderful. People have to buy sand for children to play at home.
That's true.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add on this? Or
I'm satisfied.
You are satisfied. I can see how tired you are. Yeah, dear listeners, I would say
we not only have voices for a podcast, but also faces for YouTube. Don't miss your next episode. Hear my true story.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Music by Edwin Matovo, hosted and produced by Otako. Subscribe to our podcast for more stories and visit us on our website, hearmytruestory.com, for more stories. All the links are listed in the show notes of this podcast.